I just played through Ghostline, a pretty obscure late release NES game, and I have to say, it was pretty good. This is one of those games that's super hard to find and is really starting to grow in price in recent times. I picked up a copy about 5 years ago for about 30 to 40 bucks, along with some other random games that were much cheaper at the time, including Donkey Kong Math and Color a Dinosaur. This is one of many games I bought really just to throw on the shelf while going for a complete NES set. I've never heard much about it over the years, and no one really seems to care. Generally, any mention of this game I've seen says it's pretty good, and that's about it. Well, thankfully I have my good friend Dave, who is always down to play some obscure crap, so we picked a Saturday, sat down, and played through the entire game. So why does no one talk about this game? Well, let's focus on the main thing, the cover art. Just what kind of game do you expect this is? Maybe an action game? A platformer? Of course not. It's an RPG, can't you tell? I mean, what is with this art? There's like an 80s action woman, or maybe a workout instructor with a headband, hair down to her ass, a sports bra, and a sword? Not to mention that eerie gaze on her face that says, "Hey, you wanna get high?" Then there's this lion hovering over the mountains. It looks pretty cool. This is one of those things with games back in the day, like you would totally rent or buy a game based solely on what's on the cover, and this cover sucks. Anyway, I think that's enough fluff, so let's pop this in and see what it's all about. Well, first things first here, the full name of the game is Legend of the Ghostline. You can have up to 3 different save files, which is pretty cool. The story goes like this. You are playing as Maria, a young girl whose village was attacked long ago by a great white lion. A young soldier defended the village by throwing his spear at the lion. Afterwards, the lion retreated back to a cave at the edge of the village, never to be seen again. Then Maria's parents leave to go solve a mystery, never to be heard of again. I'm not exactly sure what the mystery is here. It's like they skipped a sentence that explains that here. I'm assuming that they were going to see if they could find the corpse of this lion or something, and died somewhere along the way. Maria then visits the village elder and obtains a spear that contains the spirit of a young soldier mentioned earlier in the story. She sets off on a journey to find the white lion at the gate of evil, and the game begins. You know, let's go back to that box art for a second though. Like, do you spot any key differences? Now let's check out the box art of the game on the Famicom. Yeah, it's starting to make a lot more sense. I imagine the developers of Ghostline had different cover art made for America and just gave a general description of the game to the artist. One side matches the game, while the other side matches an artist's imagining of whatever the game was supposed to be about. There's like a girl and a lion, right? Here you go. Anyway, the game itself acts like a very traditional RPG. You have your main character, you go to towns, you fight random battles, buy items, fight bosses, and progress through the game. However, there are a few things that separate this game from nearly all other RPGs on the console, at least in the North American region for all I know. For one, fights are handled a little differently than usual. Along your journey, Maria obtains new items and key items. She can equip weapons to do normal old attacks, and that's fine and well, but the big gimmick is that some of these weapons, such as the spear, are not equipable. Instead, you use them during battle to summon the spirits that live within these weapons. These spirits, in a way, join your party to fight enemies. They come complete with their own HP and set of moves. Any move you do, such as normal attacks or spells, reduce their HP. Enemies will attack either Maria or the spirits. If Maria runs out of HP, or what they call courage in this game, it's game over. But when the spirits lose all of their HP, they poof. You can summon them back or summon any amount of these spirits to fight at your side as you'd like, as long as you have enough dream points to do so. There are consumable items you can use to refill your courage and dream points. I like to think of this game as a sort of reverse Pokemon, and that's pretty neat. The other big gimmick is that there are no experience points gained through battle, only currency. So you might be asking, how does one level up? Well, you have to go find fragments of hope found in chests throughout the dungeons and caves. Not only does this level up Maria's stats, but they also level up your spirit's stats as well. There's kind of one big gotcha with this system, however, and that's that many dungeons contain both spirits and fragments of hope. If you want the strongest party you can get, you have to collect the spirits before you collect the Fragments of Hope. I would recommend using a walkthrough with maps if you want to progress that way. This method of leveling up makes grinding almost completely pointless in Ghostline. Sure, you still need currency to buy items throughout the game, but they're generally not all that expensive, so skip as many random fights as you can. There are a few different types of spirits you collect throughout the game, and you can pretty much group them into these categories: Fighter, Mage, Support, and Defender. As your Mage and Support spirits level up, they learn new spells. For the most part, except for some boss battles, you're going to be focusing on using the Fighter and Mage spirits. They deal the most and can soak up the most damage. You can check the stats of your spirit at any time, which is pretty cool if you want to see which ones are the most useful after each level up. For the game itself, some people say it's pretty easy, while I think it's certainly challenging. There are long stretches of the game you'll be in where you are not able to heal up or save, and the random encounter rate is pretty high. By the time you are done with most of the dungeons, your courage and dream meters are depleted and you're just begging to make it out safely. Out in the open world, however, there are plenty of fairy ponds available to refill your life and save your game. Finding out where to go is pretty easy, and there aren't a whole lot of cryptic things to get stuck on as long as you're paying attention to what the NPCs have to say. The boss fights can certainly take a little brain power to complete, and so does reserving your resources to make it through the longer areas. When you find Fragments of Hope to level up, that also refills your courage and dream meters, so if you're following a guide, you can plan it out properly. All other aspects of the game are pretty solid. The music is perfectly good, the character models look pretty good, although it could use a few more enemy types. The gameplay is good, although the menuing is a little clunky at times, and the graphics are bright and colorful. I don't really want to go balls deep into spoilers, but I will say that the end boss, which is obviously the Ghostline itself, is a real nice challenge. All in all, I'd have to say I recommend this game wholeheartedly. Ghostline takes about 6 to 7 hours to complete, so you really do get to put in a nice amount of time. Unfortunately, just like every obscure game, this thing jumped from like $50 to $150 in a year, so I can't recommend going out and spending that much on it. Maybe wait a year or two to see if the price comes down, or just emulate it. But definitely play it one way or another if you're a fan of RPGs. It's worth the time.